What's up, everybody, and welcome to a special Team Chat podcast episode. Well, I mean, it's not like we're doing anything
it's not
crazy,
really
but it's
special.
like it's a special time of year. It's like Christmas in June.
It is.
Because it's summer showcase time. We can't call it E3 season anymore because that's gone. But hey, we're here to talk about some of our favorite releases that have come out from the big showcases from the last week, such as Summer Games Fest, Xbox, Devolver, and Ubisoft. I know there are others, but we're two people and we can't get to them all. But
We already covered a little bit from Summer Games
yeah, we did
Fest in our last.
That's true. We did.
Not a ton.
Not a
but
ton.
like we hit a bunch of the highlights there. But damn, the Xbox showcase and the Devolver showcase and the Ubisoft Forward, which I did not watch, but the Xbox one alone was jam-packed with
lot of stuff.
There was way more in there than I was expecting. So when I was actually going over the list of games that actually caught my eye and that I was interested in, combined with the big AAA titles that everybody's excited about, I was like, oh, okay, there's actually a lot to talk about here.
Yeah.
So we should definitely do a little decompressing, a little recap.
Yeah, a little recap of all the information. So that's exactly what we're going to do on this episode of Team Chat Podcast, a video game show. I'm one of your hosts, Jarrett Wilson, joined to my right by Rachel Mogan.
Buongiorno.
And yeah, we're here to talk about all that stuff we just already said. So you can catch new episodes of the show over on podcast services around the World Wide Web, as well as watch a video version of each episode over on our YouTube channel. Links for all that are in the description below. You can also find us on social media at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also join our Discord server where we have a lot of great conversations when we're not here recording the show. And finally, if you'd like to help make the show bigger and better, just like some of our other patrons who have gone over to patreon.com/teamchatpodcast, and those cool folks are Super Saiyan Ace, Elise F, Erica L, Zach S, Mariah S, Susan M, James K, Michael B, Andrew M, Michael S, and Brandon W. Like I said, that if headed over to patreon.com/teamchatpodcast, where it's for as little as $1 a month, they've supported the show, and in return, they get cool perks like getting the episodes early before their general Thursday release and access to a private channel on our Discord server, the Rogues Gallery. If you can't support the show monetarily, that's no big deal. We totally understand, and there are other free ways that you can do it, like telling your friends, writing us a review, subscribing and liking wherever you're listening to or watching the episodes. All that good stuff helps get the good word of Team Chat Podcast out there, and for that, we're eternally grateful and love each and every one of our viewers, listeners, and patrons alike.
Heart emojis, smooches,
Oh my
XOXO.
But without further delay, we got all that.
Jared,
I'm sorry, I felt aggressive. Sorry, that did feel a little aggressive. But without further delay, we have a lot of game stuff to talk about. So why don't we go ahead and just jump right in?
Let's just dive right in.
You know, I know we usually always like to say like we're only just going to talk about the games we really want to talk about, but you know what? There's still a lot of stuff that we want to talk about.
Yeah.
So I'm actually make this a little wireless mouse action here so we can do this.
Technology.
Ooh, this is so much easier.
Gosh, we're living in the 3rd century, aren't we?
I don't know. Is this?
It's the fucking 21st century. I was thinking like 3,000. Everybody ignore that.
Buck Rogers, the 24th and a half century. No, that's all right. But anyway, so we have the first one up was the Bane Summer Games Fest hosted by Jeff Keighley. Like you said, we
Papa
did
Jeff.
touch a lot of stuff that was already on it because I think a lot of the stuff we had seen already in the PlayStation showcase a little bit,
Yes.
such as, well, I guess this one was actually new. The Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the remake, is getting its second part early next year.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
And by second part, what we really mean is
Game two.
entirely game 2.
Yeah.
The wild thing about that announcement that I just wanted to touch on, it specifically said on like the title card, 2 discs. It's gonna have 2. I'm buying it. Physical copy.
You just
Jared.
gotta have those 2
I
discs
just
in your
gotta
hand.
have those fucking 2 discs.
It throws you back to the Legend of Dragoon
As a
days.
Legend of Dragoon stan and somebody that had the 3 discs from Final Fantasy VII originally, I actually still own those. It's like, yes, more of that.
That's
Put it
pretty
on the 2 discs. So I was very jazzed to see that it apparently has enough content to warrant 2 discs. I can't imagine what they've done with it, because if you haven't played the first one, no big spoilers, but there is a notable departure from the original game at the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake. So it really left the door open to some crazy new stuff to happen in the next installment of the remake series. So TLDR, it still looks absolutely beautiful. It's probably going to be incredible, and it's on fucking 2 discs. So who can say no to that?
You know another great game that came on 2 discs?
Final Fantasy VIII.
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Really?
It was the 2-discer.
How about them apples?
I think this one was actually very exciting. I
Yes,
saw.
I agree with this.
Sonic Superstars. Again, we're not hitting every game. These are the ones that like really jumped out to us. Some of them we might hit when we talk about other ones. So if you're looking at a list, being like, "Wait a minute, you skipped a lot of big ones," well, you just hold on, we'll get there.
Hold your horses.
But Sonic Superstars,
This looks really fun.
2D classic Sonic.
It's a beautiful 2D classic Sonic. I've never been a big Sonic fan. I'm still not to this day. The only Sonic I care about, and this is not a meme, is Sonic R, the terrible PC racer game that had the single greatest soundtrack of any Sonic game ever. Oh, I
have
think
we talked about it before?
I've definitely posted some of them in the Discord
Okay,
before, but I'll have to post the greatest hits because
Yeah.
your mind will be blown. Anyway, so I've never been a big fan of Sonic, but this caught my interest because it's multiplayer, up to 4 people.
That'll
and
be
it
fun.
very much gave me vibes of the more recent 2D Mario games
Mm-hmm.
that allow for up to 4 players. So I feel like this has some good potential to be like a really fun co-op game.
I've like Sonic is not a game that I have touched in a very long time, but it was one that I like growing up. My cousin had it, some other friends had it, so when I'd go to their houses and play it, and there is just something about it. I think it is one of the ones that like the art of the original is just still so bright and colorful anyway. I think that like really sticks with you. The sound, like the sounds of him, the soundtracks are always great, but also the sound effects. Like his coin sound, maybe not as iconic as like the Mario coin sound, but still it's right up there.
I don't know.
When you
I
collect
might
the
say
rings and
Sonic's
stuff, like
is kind of like more.
because you hear it more. It's like that's what I said in the Discord when this one came up. I was like, oh man, I want to play this game so bad, but I'm gonna have to watch it on mute because Fender's gonna be over there going like, what's going on?
Fender would have a stroke.
See, noises like that sometimes scare him.
Poor
And
Fender.
poor boy.
He's a poor
but
boy.
yeah, but still, I was like, oh man, classic Sonic brought into the modern era with the fresh 3D graphics.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
I can
I'm
get
all
on
about
board
it.
with that. So congratulations, Sonic team.
We got some Alan Wake 2 gameplay, which looks. I mean, I know. We're like excited about this one, but it's not like top of our lists.
It's not top of my list, but I will say, even before this trailer, I was already pretty sold on it.
Right.
I don't think this is going to be a day one buy for me,
Same.
but I really need to go back and finish the first game. I liked the story that the first game was going for, the little bit that I did manage to finish, but the gameplay was so painful that I just kind of gave up on it.
Yeah.
And this was the remake, by the way. So I really think that where this game could really grab people is with good gameplay.
The modern
because
mechanics.
I have no doubt that the story is going to be incredible,
Right.
just based on what Remedy has done in the past with Control and obviously with Alan Wake 1.
Yeah, I mean that is the
Yeah.
thing. You have the pedigree of
Oh, yeah.
of Remedy games behind this. So
We know these people can write out the ass.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not worried about that. It's just the gameplay that I'm like, oh God, please let it be easy.
But they were saying it's going to take a slight departure because you're going to have 2 playable characters
Yeah.
instead of 1. So that'll be interesting to see for fans of the series. Let's see. Skipping down a few. There were also a few in here that I was just like, I just could care less.
Yeah.
Getting more Lord of the Rings, another game. Okay, now here is one, though, that we were both very excited about. And I think we were both equally disappointed that it wasn't what we thought the game was going to be. But there came up a trailer from Don't Nod, and it looked like it was going to be Vampire 2. I was feeling it, Logan.
it
I was
kinda
like,
did.
this is it. And I was so excited. It's not. Spoiler alert.
It's not. It's not Vampire 2.
But it's
Tragic.
called Banishers Ghosts of New Eden. And it's going to be a new action RPG, again, from Don't Nod, creators of Vampire, Life is Strange, stuff like that. So, again, we know they can tell a good story. And we know that they can do good writing and all that stuff. And honestly, like the gameplay of Vampire was fantastic.
I was about to say, like, this is an action RPG, which is obviously a departure from what people know them for Life is Strange.
Right.
But we both, except for that one fight
Yes.
with
Oh
your
my
sister,
God.
except for that one fight with the sister, we both pretty consistently enjoyed the combat.
Yeah.
So I would say that the mechanics of Vampire were not anywhere near as bad as some early reviews made them out to be. I thought it was a perfectly fine game. This is years after Vampire.
Oh, yeah.
So I can imagine that they've probably only, I would hope, that they have only made progress on making even better and more engaging combat. So I feel like the story seemed really interesting. It
Seems
stars
spooky.
it seems spooky. So it stars this man who's just like a normal dude. I mean, it looks kind of like it might take place around
It kind
the
of felt like
1800s.
that's what I was thinking. Like 1800s,
Yeah.
early 1900s is by look of it, just because that's again is what made me be like, this is Vampire 2.
We'll put it this way: it didn't look like modern times. It
Right.
looked like industrial age /
Yes.
Victorian age. But it's this normal-looking man, and then what appears to be his ghost wife.
Yeah.
And it's like, who are you, ghost lady? So I guess that's the ghosts of New Eden in question. But it's sort of like, okay, what's going on here? Why is one of them a ghost and the other one's a normal dude? And
Yeah.
what's the story going to be like? So I'm actually low-key pretty hyped about that.
I am too. This is one that's very high on my list. I want to keep an eye on it, see how it goes with the development. Because I mean, also too, which I hope that they follow up for this one, is Vampire also had a kick-ass soundtrack from
Yeah, it
Olivia.
did.
Oh, I'm gonna butcher his name. I apologize, but Olivia
De Laurentiis.
Diverivide? I can't.
was
I'll have to look that up. But anyway, incredible soundtrack. I apologize. I know I butchered that name. But
will
this one
say-
looks great. Says it's going to have a haunting atmosphere featuring combat against ghosts, wolves, and other apparitions.
I wonder if your ghost wife will be like a little offended that you're killing her people. But we'll
Maybe
find
depends
out.
if they've wronged her already or not.
Now,
So
I
we'll
will
have to
say,
see.
I wouldn't be half as interested in that game if it wasn't from the Vampire team.
Yeah.
Like, if it weren't coming from the people that made Vampire, which was a total sleeper hit for both of us.
Yes.
I don't think that trailer would have had me as interested as it does.
Yeah, for sure. We did get the next Keanu Reeves moment. We had Nicolas Cage showed up
So
for Dead by
weird.
Daylight, which cool.
I will say that I was surprised about his onstage presence because I thought he did a really good job.
Yeah.
I thought that his, just demeanor was really engaging. A lot of the times when they get mainstream celebrity, like that Al Pacino thing.
Yeah.
A lot of the times those fall so flat, and this one felt like, okay, Nicolas Cage. This
You
kind of
felt
makes
like
sense.
kind of like Keanu Reeves. Like you felt like he was like, oh, I understand what this is, and I understand like this is a big thing. Like again, Al Pacino was there. That was Game Awards when he introduced
He was just presenting.
actor,
He
best
was
actor,
presenting an award.
and then he had to
yes.
stand there while Christopher Judge did his like
Oh
7-minute
my God.
acceptance speech.
So
Somebody
funny.
bring Al a chair. It was rough, but still, it's like, but it's
Oh,
kind of
boy.
like Keanu Reeves and Nicolas Cage, like they were both there, and they were kind of like, oh yeah, like we get why we're here for. We understand this medium. Honestly, I'm shocked Nicolas Cage hadn't been in a video game before.
Yeah, it seems pretty par for the course for him. He's always been more willing to do the unconventional stuff, to put it lightly.
I mean, granted, this is a survival horror game, but
and
still,
he's just a cameo character. I mean,
Right.
it's not like he, is acting out his ass in Dead by Daylight.
sure. And it's not like he's even playing somebody else. He's playing himself, Nick Cage. It's honestly like he started explaining it, and I was like, wait, so this is just the horror version of the unbearable weight of massive talent.
It really is.
Because it's like the same thing. He's playing like himself, goes to a movie set, and things go wrong. So I thought that was pretty interesting and pretty entertaining, but still very fun. Let's see. Going on down here in the Summer Games Fest one, skipping a few things.
I will say Under the Waves looked promising. I know that it didn't make a splash.
Oh, love it.
Hilarious. I know that it really didn't make that big of a splash with other people, but based on sort of the mystery that it seemed like they were setting up,
Yeah.
it takes place completely underwater. It's a mix of submarine piloting and scuba diving with an unsettling atmosphere.
See, I'm already out.
yeah, I know.
We've talked about how
Yeah,
I
we
don't like
I know that's
the
not a
deep
game
water.
for you. I feel like that might be a game for me though, because it kind of seemed to imply that like, oh, it's this researcher and he's down under the water all alone, or is he?
Oh, that's the game where you're making Life Aquatic jokes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
I was
did
like,
look
this
like
one's
the Life
not actually
Aquatic.
sounding familiar to me at all.
No, but so I feel like that one has promise for me personally.
Sure. All right, let's see.
Bunch of this other stuff.
Bunch of other
There's
stuff.
the Raji
This
one.
is the one that looked like Raji. And
Yeah.
in fact, Raji the Ancient Epic, a game we played a couple years ago on Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Really fun, great platformer. I really thought this was going to be the sequel to it, but it's called Lisfanga the Time Shift Warrior. It's going to be a new hack and slash game, and looks like it's going to be. I mean, it looks fun.
It really, like, just imagine that same top-down isometric view
Right.
from the Bastions of the world, from the Raji Ancient Epics of the world. This is exactly like that kind of gameplay. Very fast action, very fluid-looking action, so it looked really interesting.
I am a very. I know we'll talk about more later. I mean, spoiler alert, like Prince of Persia, the new Prince of Persia game that's going to be coming out. I felt like there was a good showing of 2D side-scrolling platforms again between this, the Sonic Superstars. Like, I kind of feel like that genre made a showing again this year that hasn't been there in a while, and I'm honestly here for it.
Yeah.
I mean,
too.
like Ori and the Blind Forest, Ori,
I mean-
Will of the Wisp, great games.
Well, I guess we might as well talk about it here since the topic has conveniently segued into it. Obviously, none of these announcements across the board from any of these showcases included anything to do with Hollow Knight Silksong.
Yeah.
But that's also not necessarily surprising. Back in, I think, mid-May, the marketing director for Silksong for Team Cherry did come out on Twitter and officially say, hey, remember that like June 2024 release date back when Microsoft said last year the game will be coming out in 12 months?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been delayed. We really have no idea when it's coming out.
That's the question though that I have for you, because obviously like you're a huge fan of Hollow Knight. Yeah. You're very anxiously looking forward to Silksong. Does this worry you at all that like we haven't heard anything about it, or you haven't even seen really anything about it? Like, does that like bother you? Because do you think it's like obviously it's not falling like the game's being canceled and falling on hard times. They're just trying to like clean it up, get it to where they want to be. It is just feels kind of weird how radio silent they've been.
They've been very quiet about it. It is worth mentioning that Hollow Knight, kind of felt like a very sudden hit that came out of nowhere because it was a Kickstarter game. So,
I didn't remember that.
Yeah, Hollow Knight was a Kickstarter game. So it's like okay, well, compared to the previous development cycle that they would have had with Hollow Knight, this is sort of a whole different ball game of it's not on Kickstarter. It's like a formally funded game. So maybe they just don't really feel like that's necessary, or maybe it's just that they literally do not have the time or the staff to sort of do these big PR updates. We can really only speculate. It's all speculation. They did say that the game has gotten bigger than they originally anticipated.
Okay, so that's good.
Could be a good thing, but we really just won't know until it comes out.
Right.
So I still have very high hopes for the game. I still think it's probably going to be incredible. It's just a matter of when.
Well, because, my then follow-up to that, or the, counterpoint, I guess, to that is another, maybe not expected missing thing. I feel like a broken record every time because I'm just still, at this point, it's a joke for me of just like, will we see Beyond Good and Evil 2 again?
No.
And like, this game, like, I feel like you do have cause to worry. Like, I don't know if this one's ever going to come out because was shared in our Discord and stuff like that. The first like announcement trailer for it, like I know we all saw that,
for
like
Beyond Good and Evil 2.
For Beyond Good and Evil 2 was like in 2008.
Oh yeah.
And then it's like we had a huge like
ago.
the big reveal that like had the really big like cinematic trailer and everything that showed off that like honestly hooked me. I was like, this world looks crazy and I want to do this. And that's why I've like kind of been like, I want to know more about this game. I would like to see this game and see what it's going to be, because it did hook me initially. Granted, I fell for cinematic trailer. That's my fault. But still, that was 2016. The game was released in 2008. Yeah. Another Ubisoft Forward and Direct went by with no mention of it at all. Not even a shot of it in any of their promotional stuff. Like that one.
I don't think anybody's working on it.
Does anyone care at this point?
No, I think it's a completely dead project.
Yeah.
So I don't think anyone at Ubisoft is working on this game. I don't think that's a thing. I think they took all of those people and said, more Assassin's Creed for those annual releases.
Yeah.
Chop, chop, get on it.
And now Star Wars Outlaws, which we'll get to in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll
but so anyway, there were a lot of other games in Summer Game Fest, but I think in the first main like Summer Game Fest announcement, obviously we saw a lot of like Mortal Kombat 1. I thought that still looks really fun. I know that we've kind of talked about it, and Mortal Kombat's not your thing, but like the still like the look of it, I like that it's kind of like a reset, which I'm kind of like, oh man, if I really want to get into it, is this the time? But I still think I'm holding out for Tekken 8 for my fighter.
To save that money for Tekken. It's going to be the better game. I guarantee it.
Another thing that I like shared in our Discord when we were watching all of this stuff, that I just wanted to point out here. There are a lot. I mean, even like I'm even counting like the Banishers one that we were talking about from Don't Nod. There were a lot of like medieval fantasy games in this. Yeah. Like across the board, like and everything. And I'm kind of like, guys,
branch out.
We need something else. Because they're kind of because there was this one that Immortals of Avenum or something like that had the guy from Never Have I Ever in it.
I don't know any of the words you just said.
It's in here. I skipped past it because I didn't really want to talk about it that much.
It didn't look that interesting.
Yeah, it really didn't, honestly, unfortunately. Wow, where is it?
It didn't even make the list.
It's did I skip over it way early? I must have.
No, I don't.
No, it didn't even make the list. Anyway, that game, and I was just like, there just seemed to be a lot of medieval fantasy, and I was kind of like, okay.
I will say that along those same lines, because it tended to line up with those games, but it wasn't just the medieval fantasy ones. I am so sick and tired of the marketing trailer trope of the dramatic monologue voiceover of like a character from in-game
Yeah.
giving you the dramatic spiel of like, why are you here?
Yeah.
And we're afraid of you and all that shit. And it's just like, fucking shut up. Like the dramatic monologue over the overly dramatic, like dire sounding music, over the gameplay that just looks like another shooter game.
Yeah.
It's like, you're trying to make it seem like there's a story to this game. I learned from Anthem, there's not. There will not be any story that will really have an impact in any of the games that have that specific style of trailer.
Yeah.
It's like, that is now a red flag for me of, that's not a good game.
Well, and it really is like, I know I used to be the one. I just said I literally was. I was suckered in and taken by the shiny trailer. And I do kind of feel that a little bit because there were several games and a lot more games that we'll talk about here that, are in the early enough development that they're like, hey, we don't really have much of the game to show off. We just want to show this. But still at the same time, it's like these trailers are cool, but I need something a little bit more because I know that this is not what the final game is going to look like now.
People know, like people have learned that the trailer means nothing.
Yeah.
A trailer alone tells you almost nothing about a game.
Yeah. Well,
but speaking of a trailer alone,
that looks really
dope.
cool. But it's the same thing. It's the same thing. And again, we're segueing because this felt like a good place to do this. There were a couple games. They still catch your attention because they do feel like they're promising something new.
Yes.
But it is just so much. We do see so much of what these are, and then either the final promise not quite come out to be what it is, or what you thought it was going to be, or whatever. It just those trailers can sometimes paint a different picture. So I'm really trying to make myself be more objective about it. But that being said, South of Midnight from the Xbox One. We're jumping over to Xbox now.
So this was like the second game from the
it was very quick.
So just to address Fable, because I know that people are super high on Fable. I don't think either of us have any feelings about Fable.
I don't, just because I never played the game.
We never played the
I know that
original
they're huge. I know that Fable fans that love the old games, and I know that when I want to say it was Lionshead Studio who was working on the new Fable game several years ago, and then that studio got canned. Yeah. So I think a lot of people were like, "Oh no, this new Fable's never coming out."
Apparently, it is.
It's here, and we got the first again. It showed some of the world and stuff like that, kind of how you'll interact, but again, mostly a cinematic trailer. Although starring Richard Adeoye from the IT Crowd. That was a pretty fun touch.
I really just wanted to bring up Fable to be like, this is a game where I'm like, you know what, other Fable fans, I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
For me, this is not even a blip on the radar. But for other people, It's like, I get it. Good for you.
But I think the other big draw to this one is that it is Playground Games, who, if I'm not mistaken, Playground Games usually does a car racing.
Oh.
Forza.
Huh.
So there's
really,
which we even saw some of new Forza stuff in the Xbox One.
When did they have the time?
Oh, Forza Motorsport, yeah. So I guess they've branched out, and as part of some of the new acquisition stuff, that they got handed Fable
Maybe
as well.
So fascinating.
So interesting to see because still Forza. Even though, again, not Forza. Our jams at all.
Mostly, I just want to rag on Forza because it was they started that trailer with product placement ad spiel from GM, from General Motors, and it's like, you just get to the game. People do not care about this.
Show us.
So the ad placement marketing aspect of it was really lame, but I mean, it looks like a sick game.
Yeah,
it looks fun for people that like racers. I'm sure they're really hype about this.
But that's what I was saying. Horizons, I believe Forza Horizons is the one that is more of the open world racing game that I know a lot of people are like, oh, this is new. And so I feel like transferring that over to open world action RPG, I feel like Playground Games could do a good job of that. So I feel like that would be interesting to see.
We will be rooting for them. But more importantly, back to South of Midnight. We got off track.
Sorry, yes, we did.
So South of Midnight, we really don't know much about this game at all, other than obviously the trailer that they displayed.
Right.
It does, however, have a really interesting look of almost being like claymation, the art style.
I was just thinking about this, and I would love to know anyone who is in the know and understands what that's actually called, because it does also somewhat look a lot like the Apex Legends cinematic, cinematic shorts, and stuff. You're right, very claymation almost style look to it,
stop motion-y.
Yeah, just kind of with more not it's still it's almost like I would almost say like a mix of the Borderlands in there too, where it's almost that like graphic novel feel.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but it looked really cool.
It
so
does.
it's basically the trailer was just this girl Hazel talking to what maybe it was just my perspective, but what looked like a giant man.
I think he was big.
Giant?
I think he was giant. Yeah.
So a giant man playing a really cool guitar, like some sick blues strings, in what appeared to be the swamp. Because what really grabbed me about South of Midnight is it takes place in the Gothic American South. And
True Blood time.
Yes. Oh my God. Gothic horror is one of my favorite. I don't read books, but if I did, if I did read books, Gothic literature would be one of my favorite genres.
Yep.
So the fact that this really seems like a game steeped in American Southern folklore, that really has my interest.
Yeah.
It looked very like New Orleans noir, which I am all about. So the setting alone and the art style instantly sold me on this game, which is dangerous. But the plus side is not only is it going to be for the Xbox consoles, it's also going to be for PC.
Yes.
So even if it never comes to the other consoles, I will at least still have a chance to play it.
Right.
So that was exciting for me.
I actually think everything Xbox announced will be both PC and Xbox. So fortunately, there is that. But then also, like we saw later in their reveal, they're doing the new Xbox Series S with a 1 terabyte for only $350.
A reasonable
That's
price.
pretty good.
Yeah,
like, so if we,
pretty
you know,
good
if we needed to go in on the Xbox Series S,
Actually, maybe.
you know, just
Do
like,
have like a timeshare Xbox.
okay, you can have it every other day.
We have to make a schedule. Oh boy.
But also in the realm of trailers that still don't show us a ton, but like built our excitement, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. Like it was good to again get an update, kind of like what we were talking about with Silksong Light, just to get that update. No, they're still working on it because they had kind of gone radio silent on it too. And so it was good to at least know that they are targeting release date of 2024. It looks like, again, because they showed Melina Juergens, what am I doing?
I just wanted to see what the release date for
South
South
of
Midnight
Midnight.
was, but I don't think
we'll anything there
never
yet. Looking for 2024 there, but it was really great. Another showcase of the power of and everything that they're putting behind Senua's Saga. Like, it looks like it's going to be gorgeous because what they showed was like captured from in-game kind of stuff, like in all that. It looks like it's going to be great. I was also very excited to see that they're keeping the Furies. And like,
did you think that they were going to get rid of them?
I didn't think they were going to get rid of them necessarily, but I did kind of wonder if they would play as big a role. Because like the first game is so much of Senua coming to terms with what's going on in her mind.
Yes.
I didn't know if they were going to keep it where it's like, okay, it's like, you know, like she's been to therapy and learned to like deal with the voices in her head a little bit more. So I didn't know, like, you know, I didn't know if it was going to be that kind of thing.
Maybe this was just my reading of the trailer, but it seemed to me like as far as story beats go, I got the feeling from both what the Furies were saying from their little dialogue snippets and from sort of the imagery in Senua's Saga that the point of the game is going to be Senua basically going into her own mind and like interacting with her Furies. So I would not be terribly surprised if the Furies wound up being characters.
Even more
like
so.
if they were NPCs that she gets to go around and interact with. You know, last time it was all like ancient gods and stuff.
Sure.
And this time it's like, well, she kind of already got rid like all of that, you know, she dealt with that.
Right.
Now she has this other thing of maybe just getting more comfortable with her her
Understanding
gang.
understanding like and using that to her advantage and stuff like that. But I did love that even in this trailer, you still got that like 3D sound of the Furies. And I even wasn't wearing headphones and it could still tell like they're this year, then they're this year.
Yeah.
It was like,
Very
so
cool.
good to see that they're still keeping that same feel to the game. I'll wait. You know what I mean? Like, I'm excited
this is
for this
another
one.
one.
It's
Like,
going to
we
be a
will just
fantastic
wait.
game. Let's see. Microsoft actually had quite a bit that we were excited
I'm
about.
not gonna lie. Microsoft Flight Simulator
Did that
looks
get you?
pretty dope.
I'm here for the Dune crossover.
So Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 is coming out. It looks like just an incredibly detailed flight sim.
Oh, yeah.
There were so many different options of the types of craft that you could
I like
fly.
that you do hot air balloons. Like, hell yes.
Like, hell yes. The one that
I want to sit at my computer and move literal inches. while slowly sitting at my desk and be like, yes, this is the real thing.
This is the real deal.
I'm going to hit a tower in Albuquerque.
No, the one that really got me, and this just speaks to the sim, like the inventory manager in me that loves sim games. The one that got me was the helicopter cargo loading. Like that you could be like a helicopter with like your aerial cargo and you have to go put it onto a waterborne craft. I was like, yes.
And you're going to be dealing with all the physics of that.
That seems awesome.
Yeah. And also like another one was crop dusters. So I can't wait to see the streams
were
of
like
just crop dusters.
I was like, awesome. I mean, we know from basically just sheer facts and figures from Steam that games like Truck Simulator and Euro Truck Simulator do numbers. So I will not be surprised if Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 is low-key the best-selling game of next year.
Yeah, it might do some great things.
And it's got 2024 in the title, so that game had better not be delayed.
That would be a shame.
That would be a shame.
So let's see. What other stuff we have in Xbox here? You liked this one, 33 Immortals.
I really kind of just wanted to touch on 33 Immortals for two reasons. One, it is from Thunder Lotus, which is the indie development studio that did Spiritfarer. Now, I had my gripes with Spiritfarer.
Right.
You know that in my review, I basically did not recommend it. But that was after completing the game and spending many hours of fun. What really disappointed me about it was the ending.
Right.
So it was more based on the narrative and the story than the gameplay itself. The gameplay itself was pretty fun. It was pretty solid. And the artistic stylings were fantastic. I loved the look of it and the feel of it. 33 Immortals is it's a totally different spiel than what they were doing with Spiritfarer, which was more like a cozy sim game.
Right.
33 Immortals is the exact polar
It looks balls to
opposite.
the wall action.
It is a massively co-op. I don't want to say massively co-op, but it is a 33 player, as what a hilarious.
I actually missed that until like I was doing my notes again for this recording, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
that makes more sense with the title. Okay,
so
cool.
They describe it as a pick-up and raid co-op game with up to 33 players in a raid. So I gather that this game will sort of appeal to the WoW players of the world in that it's very action-oriented, very raid-oriented, very like dungeon raid kind of player. I have to say, I'm personally not interested in that style of game at all, but maybe it will be a really good co-op game to play with trademark the boys. Like if it's not terribly expensive, if it's got that indie price tag and the gameplay is fun and the matchmaking is good, maybe it could be a good game to play with your friends.
For sure. Maybe. Which is kind of what this one, Towerborn, also kind of like hit that for me. I was like, okay, cool. Creators of Banner Saga, great games there. But then it just the same kind of thing, or was this more of like, it seemed like you were kind of doing like an RPG almost-esque game, but with friends and just like 4 friends. And, it's like you take your party. It's not like you and 3 NPCs. It's you and 3 of your friends. Yeah. And so it's like that kind of felt really fun. And so I was like, man, again, like, I don't know if I would do this as much on my own, but like if you and like the boys trademark got the game, like, man, I'd be down to play it and try it out.
Which, by the way, it is the month of June, and it does specifically say in the description, you play as an ace. #pride.
Oh,
I know that's not how the description means it, but I just want to say
#pride.
#pride.
All right. Let's see.
Didn't care about city skylines too. Who gives up? I'm sure somebody cares, but I don't care at all.
Dungeons of Hinterberg looked fun.
It looked really interesting from just an art perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dungeons of Hinterberg looked like it had low-key promise.
Looked good.
Speaking of low-key promise, so Jared and I both looked at Jusant and went, Rhyme?
Another don't nod, actually.
Another don't nod, but we were both like, Rhyme, is that you? Like, if you squint hard enough, it looks like Rhyme again. So Rhyme came from the Spanish studio Tequila Works, and I reviewed that game many years ago. It made me bawl my eyes out. This is not Rhyme. This is
new. It's
this
different.
is Jusant. But it does look really interesting in terms of both the art style. It kind of has that very like polished but still sort of low poly look to it to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I don't think I would go so far as to call it low poly, but it's very stylized, we'll say. Very stylized graphics. You get a little creature on your back because in this day and age, every game has to feature a little creature. It's just a given, I guess.
You gotta have something else to put cosmetic skins on.
Yeah. So you play as this little person that's just sort of climbing all over shit, and you got a little creature on your back that makes plants bloom.
This is kind of what I was like, bouldering people have their day, or getting their day in this game. Because that's literally what it is. It looks like just like rock climbing and bouldering kind of.
Now, they do describe it as an adventure puzzle game. which that got me.
That
because
does sound up your alley.
You know that I'm all about the, like action puzzle.
Yeah.
Like an action puzzle platformer is really what this looked like. And it's a what's it called? When there's no speaking. Dialogueless. It's a
Read only.
Read only. It's a dialogue-free, but supposedly narrative-driven game.
Yeah.
Which is also exactly what Rhyme was. Rhyme was a like puzzle platforming, narrative-driven game that did not have dialogue. And I'm like, yeah,
But
I love
still
that
made the
game.
ball.
Give me that game again.
All right, let's see what else we got here.
There was a naked man on a beach, and he was very attractive.
Fantastic
That was
trailer
nice.
for Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. That was a great trailer.
We don't care about that series, but it was nice to look at.
Yeah.
This game.
All right.
This is the one that I was trying to tell you that I thought looked really cool. So two things. It's Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess. There are really only two reasons that I care about this game. One, it reminded me very strongly of Okami, at least in its setting. And two, the design for the creatures is bonkers.
Yeah, they look wild.
It had some wild creature designs, which looked really appealing to me. Oh, and three, actually, it's Capcom. And as we've seen recently, Capcom kind of can't miss.
Yeah.
They have been putting out banger after banger recently. So this game really attracted me both from its setting, its aesthetics. Look at those creatures.
Ugh.
Oh, God, they're so gross. But
Okay,
they're
yeah,
so
this is
cool.
not the same kind of playstyle I was thinking it was.
No.
I thought it was another like more of an isometric side scroller,
No,
but
no.
no, this is a good
Yeah.
old.
This is more like a sort of
This is like God of War, like hack. It's like hack and slash mixed with Monster Hunter is what it kind of looks like.
Yes, it kind of does look like that. And honestly, I think it looks pretty dope.
Yeah.
So I'm actually low-key pretty hype about Path of the Goddess. We'll
Hell yeah.
see if it's any good, but I am tentatively excited.
Nice. All right, scrolling on down. We'll jump in. We'll save Star Wars Outlaws for here
the
in a
end,
second for
yeah.
when we get into Ubisoft stuff. All right, Still Wakes the Deep. This one again just had a quick little cinematic story trailer, but it looked like it was going to be a spooky game.
It looked like it was going to be real spooky. So two things to note about Still Wakes the Deep. One, my parents live in coastal Alabama. And when you go to the beach, the horizon is full of oil rigs. So from a perspective of like, oh man, that hits a little too close to home.
What could be coming out of the ocean and getting my
see
mama
them.
and papa?
Yeah, my mama and papa. So that kind of had the personal effect of me. I was like, Mom, Dad, okay. So Still Wakes the Deep is a horror. It looks like it might be horror survival game that takes place out on an oil rig. Mainly the thing that is interesting to me is that it is from the team that did Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, which was a very narrative-driven, air quotes, walking sim horror game from many years ago now. Everybody's Gone to the Rapture is quite old at this point, but it had a really well-done narrative. So that's what draws me to Still Wakes the Deep, is that it's those people, and the setting is really creepy. So I can't decide if I feel like it's too scary for me, or if it feels like I might be able to hack it.
It depends. Am I going to have to get in that water?
You don't like water.
That's the thing. Like if I will say I do have, and I even admit it's an irrational fear of sharks. And
I'm not sure that it's that well.
I mean, in the fact that I live in Austin, Texas, and there's not ocean around me that I can get to easily and fall into and have a shark eat me.
Oh boy.
I mean, I can go to the coast, and I've gone to the coast multiple times. It's fine. I enjoy it and have a good time. But
man.
the whole thing, if I was out in the open water, no. And I even
See,
it's even a little bit where it's like, if just because I know it, but this translates over to video games. If I'm playing a game like Far Cry, the Assassin's Creeds, where you have to dive into the water and go to an underwater treasure, and there's sharks around, I'm fucking nervous. I'm getting clammy hands, and I'm just sitting there on the edge of my seat, just trying to get out of this section as fast as I possibly can. So if I wind up in the water in this game, it's game over.
It does. It looks. You might. So, anyways, Still Wakes the Deep looks pretty interesting. Looks nice and spooky. Really, horror fans in general have been winning.
Oh yeah,
for
eating
the
good.
past 2 to 3 years now. So, fingers crossed that Still Wakes the Deep is a good one.
Yeah. All right, a couple more things here, real quick. Cyberpunk 2077 is getting the DLC Phantom Liberty, which expansion really more than DLC.
Yeah.
It looks like it's going to be a very big boost to that game. It's going to have Idris Elba in it. Keanu Reeves is coming back. Yeah, that's going to be really cool. But here's the thing though. This game has brought new life to me in a way. Well, and see, like, I haven't even finished Cyberpunk. I dabbled around in Cyberpunk before some game came out that drew my attention away, and I haven't gone back to it yet. Might not. Oops-a-doodles.
Maybe Cult of the Lamb? I feel like that was a while ago that you were still playing Cyberpunk.
Maybe it was. But what it is this game has vindicated me, has released me from the bonds of my terrible PSN name. For those of you who have not heard this or seen my username, my username on the PlayStation Network and therefore everywhere else is Dogtown Warrior. And so go friend me. Go friend me. But yes, terrible name because no. Because I'm terrible at picking names like this. You remember, you were there when we had to pick the name for this show. It was a lot.
It was.
And so, but no. So in the fit of panic when I was setting up my PlayStation Network instead of name, I happened to be watching the movie Lords of Dogtown with Sam, which, as you know, is a skateboarding movie. Have I skateboarded ever? Hell no. But I was like, you know what sounds really cool together? Dogtown Warrior. Which makes it seem like I just shred sick ramps, whatever you do in skateboarding. Kick flips, yell Tony Hawk.
Do an ollie.
And so, like, yeah, it makes absolutely zero goddamn sense.
It's so not you.
It's so not me. It makes no sense.
Man.
But now, Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty is sending you to Dogtown.
It's
an
finally
actual
gonna
place,
make a little bit
and
more
it's going to make a lot of sense because you do a lot of fighting in Cyberpunk. So you're going to do a lot of fighting in Dogtown. So therefore, you can be a Dogtown warrior.
You know that somebody logged on like the day they released this trailer. Was like, I'm going to
username.
Update my PSN, only to find that it was already taken.
The fool. So anyway, that's pretty exciting. Cyberpunk, and I can finally be free and be like, it makes sense. I've played Cyberpunk. So there we go. Oh man, my God. Good times.
You did lightly touch on the Dune crossover with the Microsoft Flight Simulator. Not gonna lie, that looks dope as hell.
It does.
I'm already hype about the Flight Simulator and the Dune Dragonfly thingy, whatever they call it, the Dragonthopter. I don't know. It looks pretty awesome. So 10 out of 10 there.
It really does. Overwatch 2 is getting some story missions, which I think will be cool. A new co-op experience. See, like, so how does this make you feel? Being that we just had the big PvE event thing canceled, this showing they've still got more in store for Overwatch 2, but does that redeem it to you, or are you going to have to wait and see?
To a certain extent, this kind of felt like damage control, like PR damage control, because they did mention when they came out with the announcement that they were that they already had for a long time since, officially canceled the full standalone PvE campaign experience. They were like, wait, guys, no, we're still going to have more PvE missions. This is clearly the first of those rollouts.
Right.
I will just wait and see what it really is, because obviously it was like a co-op mission, you against the environment.
Right.
That all seems well and good. We'll really just have to see if it's not a matter of will it be fun, because the past PvE modes have been fun.
Right.
It's a matter of, does it warrant the 2 in Overwatch 2? So really it's just trying to live up to the purpose of a sequel.
Sure.
Which is a very ambiguous goal, and it's extremely subjective. So it's just going to depend. I will say that I am excited about the other announcements that came out alongside this, which was new maps.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about new maps. There's going to be more new characters, which I will not be able to play until they eventually pass their season, and then they become free because I'm not paying for any of this. But it did seem like, okay, great, more content. I'm excited about that. So I won't say no to more Overwatch.
And I think the last one out of here that I was like kind of excited about too, or interested to see more of, was Avowed, the new RPG from Obsidian.
Avowed looks kind of cool.
It looked cool, but I also couldn't tell at first if it was like it. And I almost asked in the chat, like, is this an Elder Scrolls remake or a remaster? Because it kind of like looked like an older one, but like not in a bad way, but just like it kind of seemed like that's what it was. So
it actually really reminded me of Dragon Age.
Ooh, yeah.
I was like, is this new Dragon Age? At first, that's what I really thought it was, but it wasn't. It was Avowed. Mostly, I just think that their logo is really cool.
It is a cool
that's
logo.
A dumb thing to be. I just think the colors are really
cool
nice.
Logos are cool.
Yeah, I just like the logo. I have really, truly no feelings about the game. It looks kind of cool. It looks kind of like Dragon's Inquisition. What did I just say?
Yeah, Dragon Age.
Yeah,
Dragon Age Inquisition. You're right.
It looks kind of like DragonAge. It looks kind of like whatever the hell game you just said.
I don't remember. That was 2 seconds ago.
We don't remember. But you get the idea, people.
And then also that game Clockwork Revolution, which looked like Bioshock-esque.
Literally everybody in both our chat and on the YouTube chat were like, Bioshock?
Right? So be keeping an eye out on that one too. So the big one from Xbox that we will touch on a little bit here is obviously Starfield.
Yep, Starfield.
And I will say, after seeing the Direct, which I honestly at first was kind of like, I don't know if I want to watch, because I was kind of like, I don't think Starfield's for me.
Oh, okay.
Because
Fair enough.
on its outset, because everything that I had seen from it, I've also had a really hard time getting into Bethesda's RPGs. I will just say.
I mean, we both didn't like Skyrim.
Yeah,
And
I tried Fallout 3 and didn't really get into it. So this though does feel different in a lot of ways, and it doesn't. And it obviously is still a Bethesda game in like how like when you're talking to an NPC and like the dialogue options, that all looks very much Bethesda. The things I was very excited to see though that were different that made me be like, oh, maybe I will like this more. Is the combat is more fluid.
Yes.
And they did specifically mention that, saying like we've increased its smoothness, its feel is better. It won't be. I want to say they even said something about it won't feel not clunky, but like it just will be a smoother experience. And even showing it where you're like using a jetpack to like jump around, it looked more of like what you would expect from a big open world exploration game like that, similar to, well, now that of course I'm completely blanking on it, but just like, I don't know, the more fast-paced action. I always had a terrible time aiming and stuff like that in Fallout. And that was honestly one of the big things. It's like every fight I was dying because it just felt so different than the other open world games that I was used to playing, shooters, melee-based systems, what have you. So that was a really big thing, and I was kind of like, oh, okay, that makes me feel a little better about it. Honestly, too, the more realistic graphics are selling me on it too, other than as opposed to like the No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
Not saying, because like I still think these games hold a lot of similarity. I feel like it might have been you even in our chat on Discord when we were watching it, being like, looks like what No Man's Sky was trying to be.
Somebody else.
Somebody else. Okay, I can't remember who that was. Sorry, I apologize.
Maybe it was Fuchsia.
Yeah.
Because I think she's played No Man's Sky.
Yeah. And so not saying that No Man's Sky is a bad game, obviously held in very high regard now. I just think
it just didn't catch your interest.
It didn't catch my interest because again, but the overall big detractor for this that I still think is very big and why this game might not be for me is it just feels like there's a lot to do. I'm going to get overwhelmed.
It did seem pretty overwhelming.
There's a lot of stuff.
They
from
just
like
kept
systems,
naming stuff and I was like, slow down.
mechanics,
Whoa.
perks, like you get a base build. Well, I guess is there base building as well as starship building, or is it just starship building?
I'm not entirely
might have
sure
just been
because I
starship
kind
building.
of got the gist that your ship sort of was your base.
I think you're right.
Okay.
But then at one hand I was like, but that's fucking cool because like what they said is you design and build out your whole ship and then it's right there in front of you and you get to see it, and I'm kind of like, damn, that's cool.
They showed one of the examples was like kind of a janky looking Gundam, and I was like, that's hilarious.
I know. So like it's got a lot of. I can see. But my point, which is what I was saying with the realistic graphics, is I think to some extent with these more open world games and stuff like this, because I also wonder if this is maybe why another reason I didn't get into as much with Breath of the Wild. And this might sound very hard to explain and might not make sense, but I feel like I can get lost in a bigger open world like this, the more realistic it feels. If that makes sense. Not saying that other games that do that, and I don't enjoy other games that do that, or I don't like their art style. It's just like for this one, I don't know. Like I kind of want to. It puts me in it more.
You need that level of immersion.
I think so.
That's fine.
And so seeing that with Starfield, that it is going to be like beautiful, ultra realistic looking graphics and stuff like that. Like I was kind of like with, especially, didn't mean as much to me, but like how they were talking about how they were using it to like. Each planet will have its own like day and night cycle based on like where the stars were. Like it was a lot of like technical stuff, but I was still like, that's gonna look cool. So
yeah.
I can see I am more bought into it than I was when we first started hearing about it.
I am too, but for different reasons.
Okay.
So I will say that I still feel like I'm totally in agreement that it seems a little much.
Just a lot.
It seems a little overwhelming, and honestly, that is kind of a negative selling point for me. But the thing that attracted me to this game as opposed to Skyrim or, sort of Skyrim to an extent. Skyrim's just so fucking boring. So more so than Skyrim, and really more Fallout.
Yeah.
So Fallout has never appealed to me, both from its setting and from its gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm specifically referring to Fallout when I say this is I've never really felt like Fallout truly encouraged a wide diversity of play styles.
Sure.
Whereas I really liked all of the different ways that they showcased to approach any given situation. Because like the jetpack gunfire, sure, that looked really cool, but that's not really me.
Sure.
And if I
You
were
want to be stealthy.
I want to be stealthy, or personally, I also don't like to aim. No aim, no brain.
Yeah.
Punch main. And there was the one guy from the direct that was like, no, I made a punch man. And
Yeah.
he's just going around bopping people right, left, and center with sick punches. And I was like, yes,
Yeah.
I want to be the punch man or the stealth man. Those are the two options. Stealth first, if caught, punch way out. So I like that they showed off a really, what seemed to be a good diversity of play styles. And the other thing that kind of attracted me were more of those deeper, really D&D style RPG elements.
Yeah.
They were really harping on the backstory elements that you could give to your character and how that could wind up helping or hurting you in other encounters throughout the universe. I thought that was really cool. I just kind of really liked the depth that you could go in for your own customized play style.
Yeah.
So I think it has tons of potential. Personally, I would caution everyone, don't pre-order it.
Well, yeah.
Don't do it because we just don't.
Bethesda does have a rough
I have
track
no
record.
faith. I will put the bar as low as I possibly can. I truly have no faith that that modern Bethesda can launch a functioning game.
Yeah.
So I would say don't pre-order it. Wait for launch day. Wait for that day one patch that we all know is going to be there. See how broken it is. And then if it's not, if it seems like it might actually be a good game, yeah, go out and buy it. But I would just say many people have been burned before, specifically by Bethesda in the marketing department.
Yep.
Don't believe Papa Todd's lies. He's the world's greatest liar. It might be incredible. It might be the most polished, incredible RPG of the entire generation and then some, and people will be talking about it for 1,000 years. It might also be another Fallout 76.
Yeah.
We just don't know.
No, valid point.
We truly don't know. So I am on the firm line of wait and see. Don't pre-order it.
Yeah.
Just wait and see, you know?
But no, I think it's been interesting. Like I said, more bought into it. I also think, and I think this is an opinion that's been shared by a lot of other outlets and stuff like that too. I feel like Starfield is like the big exclusive that
that's
Xbox
the
needs.
big exclusive.
And so it needs to be good.
It
comes out
has
September 6th too, which is earlier than I thought. I thought it wasn't until December.
I was a little worried about that. I was like, whoa, September 6th of this year?
But also, like that makes sense to me. From what they showed and the in-depth that they went
It
on
did
this
look
game,
pretty
it
done.
looked like it's there and they're ready to show this off. So I think that's fine. I think that is a date. But I just think because outside of this, the other big games, the Fables, the Souths of Midnights, stuff like that
None of
people
them
saw,
have release dates.
none of them have release dates. So, I know Xbox has been doing a lot to build the big gamer ecosphere, like with Xbox Game Pass and all of its other offerings that we've talked about before. But we're still talking about the same problem that we've had with Xbox Showcase for a long time. You need to have a game to make people want to flock to your system. So
I mean, honestly, the ones that'll get me are the Senua's Sagas and the Souths of Midnight.
Oh, yeah.
Because those look like games that I'm like, yes, and the Jusants.
Yeah.
Take me back to Shelby's Island.
It's just that, like Halo Infinite was supposed to be a big thing and it just kind of fizzled.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's like
we've seen it before, except for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. That game is clearly going to be incredible.
10 of 10. 10 of 10, you
10
know what I mean?
10. God, Jared, you have the kind of desk setup where you could
Oh
get
my God.
you could really build it out.
I should.
Oh, Jared, that would be so fun.
All right. Well,
Think of the agriculture.
that's all I want to do. I just want to crop dust.
I just want to haul cargo and do agriculture.
I just want to help the farmers out, A couple more quick showcases that we'll run through because I think that was everything in Xbox.
Yeah, that
we
was all
wanted
the
to look
big
at.
stuff.
And honestly, our bigger picks were from those two.
Yeah.
We do just have a couple more follow-ups.
Little shout-outs.
Little shout-outs. One, I want to give a shout-out, not necessarily the game showed off, even though there was the Wizard with a Gun. That looks fun. It looks like a mix of like Bastion and oh man, I can't remember what I was comparing.
It looked like
Bastion,
Hades to
Hades. Weird West. It's like a combination of that because it's like the game style of like Bastion and Hades, isometric, top down like action RPG, but then also with this the kind of like this Old West setting, which I think looks kind of fun with like mythology and stuff. So it looks like it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But the Devolver showcase,
my
the
God.
showcase was the star.
The showcase itself was so not only Devolver in that it's like weird.
They created an entire fake video gaming mascot from the 80s, Volvi.
Called Volvi, yep.
And they were like celebrating this as his return. And I thought like, sorry. For that.
No, go ahead.
No, but it was just like, that was so creative because I love that's how they did this. They don't have, Devolver is a relatively small publisher getting bigger by the year, but
they still mainly publish indies for the most part.
And not have a ton ready. It's not like the Xboxes and all that stuff who have like shitloads of games ready to play.
Yeah, they've got like 5.
So
maybe
they
10.
They went balls to the wall with this, and it was so
they
great.
always do.
Introducing this new version of Volvi, who's this AI-powered robot, and I love that it was also like just jabs at AI.
Just digging at AI so hard.
But like, if you have 30 minutes, go watch it.
Oh my God!
Because the whole premise is this new version of Volvi can like create a game from a prompt. And so like somebody gives a prompt to Volvi, and then they showed the trailer for the games, which I thought was just an incredibly impressive and smart way.
Fun idea.
And fun way to showcase, to do a showcase. So
but
Devolver
obviously
kills it again.
it's Devolver, so things with Volvi do not go the way that they don't go well. So in typical Devolver style, things just, you might even say, devolve into chaos.
It's a very accurate statement.
It's a really good show. Just go watch it for the sheer entertainment factor of it. Wizard with a Gun did look really fun. I have to say, the sort of dark horse that I really didn't see coming, but that I've seen at least one other teaser trailer for maybe a couple of weeks ago, the Talos Principle is getting a sequel, which Talos Principle is a really well-liked sort of underground, not necessarily underground, but not super mainstream, difficult puzzle game.
It looks like Myst.
Yes, it's very much a la Myst in that it's very not hand-holdy environmental puzzling.
I'm out.
But it looked like it had a lot of really interesting philosophical questions about like robots and super advanced AI and robots mimicking humanity and why do they do that? So it seems like it has some pretty interesting story beats. I might even play it. Who knows?
Who knows? We'll give it a shot. But yeah, so that was really the big thing. They only announced like 4 games. So like, so go check that out. The Baby Steps one looked fucking weird.
Baby Steps looked so weird.
It's literally that old game where it's like the track runner. That was like one of the very first games where you just use WASD to like move the legs and stuff. It looks like that, but it's just like a modern take.
Man.
It looks bonkers, but weird.
Devolver, you keep being you, man.
For real. I love Devolver.
Never change.
But the ingenuity and the impressiveness of how creative their showcase was in stark contrast.
Truly, they just dunk on everyone around them.
But in stark contrast to the Ubisoft one today. This one was earlier today, actually. And again, there was a lot. This one was just a weird feel because it really felt like I think everyone in the audience was Ubisoft employees. So all these announcements, there was like no fanfare from the crowd every time they revealed something because I think they all knew this already. It's what it felt like because they really would be like people would be coming out and like they had it was awesome in that they had the game directors and producers and stuff come out to actually introduce it. It wasn't just one set host who did everything, but they would come out and like talk about it, and obviously, like, if this is your game, this is your baby, you won't be excited. And they'd like say things about it to a dead silent room.
Oh, that's terrible.
It was a little rough.
I'm glad I wasn't watching it. That's so cringe.
There was a little bit of secondhand cringe there and awkwardness. But still, that aside, there were some good things shown out of the Ubisoft.
And one
Ubisoft
of these
Forward.
is a game that you are extremely hyped about.
The number one game that I've seen come out of this Summer
far.
Games Fest so far, which is Star Wars Outlaws. We alluded to it before. This was the game, I want to say it was last year, maybe mid last year, that it was announced that Ubisoft was going to be getting a Star Wars title, which was a big deal because now we're getting one from Ubisoft. We're also getting one from I'm blanking, but they Detroit Become Human Studio.
I know you're talking. You keep talking. I'll look it up.
But anyway, they're doing a game as well. That's Star Wars Eclipse. But we finally got the look at Ubisoft's, which is Star Wars Outlaws. And this is going to be, like, granted, do you have to take it with a grain of salt because, like...
Quantic Dream.
Quantic Dream, yes. And so you do have to kind of, have a little bit of worry with Ubisoft and their open worlds because, like, Assassin's Creed Valhalla was... a fun game, but oh my god, like so much bloat.
Hit or miss.
Little like the story was all over the place. So I do have a little bit of trepidation about
hesitation
and trepidation.
Yeah. You know, just smash them together. Why not? Yeah.
Hesitrepidation about the like maybe the story of this game, but this is going to be the first open world Star Wars game, which is fucking exciting. Like just the amount of like travel that you're going to get to have and places that you're going to get to look out over the galaxy and go do. It's going to be great. I also am looking forward to the fact that it doesn't at this time seem like it's going to be a Jedi focused story.
Yeah, I like that
you're going to have someone who, again, that could be revealed, that the main character whose name is get back there.
Carly Rae Jepsen.
Kay Vess. Close.
I was close. Damn it.
Your main character, Kay Vess, who is a thief. I honestly thought at first when the trailer started that it was going to be the character Dr. Aphra, who is like an archaeologist in Star Wars world. And like she teams up with Vader a lot and stuff. So I was kind of like,
a way cooler
I was kind of like,
idea.
is it Dr. Aphra? But then it wasn't. It's Kay Vess. And she is a thief who becomes a wanted outlaw. So this to me also feels like, is this the new take on what Star Wars 1313 was going to be, which was the game that was going to be focused on Coruscant's underworld. Now this is like focused on the galaxy's underworld because you've got the Pike syndicates. I'm sure you'll run into other syndicates like Black Sun, Crimson Dawn. Who knows what you'll run into in this game. That's exciting. It also takes place in Empire Strikes Back, between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi in the timeline. So again, that's probably my favorite timeline still is the original trilogy, so that's very fun to see. But
mostly the thing that caught me is that I do think that her little creature companion,
Nyx?
one of the cuter creature companions. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I'm on board with that little critter.
Very cute. And so we did see some gameplay from that today after the trailer was revealed yesterday. And it just looks pretty. It's going to be with their new engine that they're using for it. So it just looked incredible. You went seamlessly from like just open exploration into a story. You escape from that story just by like getting on a vehicle and running away. Typical like open world things. You just outrun the boundary. But then you were able to go to your spaceship, just right up into space, like all seamlessly
appealing to me.
with space combat too.
That seems
and
pretty
ground
nice.
combat.
Yeah.
Oh my god, there's gonna be so much of this.
The ground to space transition. I do think that seems pretty sick.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
So I mean, granted, it's early. I love that we did get to see some gameplay for it already with the announcement trailer.
Yeah, that's pretty surprising.
Great. That
in this day and age, we've seen that that's kind of a rarity.
Well, and that allows me to get hyped over the cinematic trailer because the cinematic trailer was great too because they gave me gameplay to back it up, and now I can be like, yeah, this matches. I'm 100% in. So it's gonna be great. It's coming out for all platforms, even though it was originally announced on the Xbox showcase. It will be on Xbox Series X,
I don't see
PlayStation
the Switch
5.
listed
Okay,
down
not
there.
Switch. But Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and PC coming out 2024.
Exciting.
So
I
that's
was also
gonna be
pretty
great.
shocked that it's apparently coming out in 2024.
I'm gonna put it. It's gonna be.
Probably
I'm
going
gonna
to
say
get at least
September.
one delay.
I'm saying a September, October release next year.
I'm going to go ahead and say one delay, February 2025.
Ooh,
Prediction.
Okay, I'm saying. Okay, so I say September, October. You're saying okay,
February
I'll pick a
2025.
month. I'll say October.
Okay.
There we go.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Watch it come out in January of next year, and we're like, whoa!
I'd be thrilled. We also got some more updates on Assassin's Creed Mirage, which again, very excited for because this one, I know Valhalla, they kind of touted as this is going to have some things that go back to the OGs. And while there were some of that, it still felt like one of the more modern takes on it. We got gameplay to back it up. This does look like OG Assassin's Creed Mirage. Assassin's Creed, the first one took place in Damascus and stuff like that. This one takes place in Baghdad, and you're playing as Basim, who was in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So it's kind of like his origin story. But even from just like,
Oh, I didn't
so it's
know
kind of like
that.
a jump back to see like how he gets into the assassin order and stuff like that. But even from just like parkour along the buildings, obviously the setting was very reminiscent due to it's all being in the Middle East of Assassin's Creed 1, but like even getting into like traversing the town and dropping into the bureau from the roof with different things like that. Even the assassinations are back and seem to be more of not where it's not like your targets weren't necessarily big bosses, which is how it felt like in the more recent games where it's like you could go assassinate them, but they were like the big targets. These felt like more just like everyday random people you'd have to sometimes take out, but it brings back that one hit assassination that makes from the OG games that was like really has been missing as they veer to bigger combat techniques and systems and stuff. So I'm very here for Assassin's Creed Mirage. It's coming out October 12th, so that's going to be really fun. They also showed off an Assassin's Creed VR, Assassin's Creed Nexus. Also, a quick brief look at Assassin's Creed Jade, which is like a mobile game for it, taking place in ancient China. So
I am very sus about that.
I am too. I'm not very into it.
It's probably just going to be a hero collector gotcha game. I mean, who knows? Maybe it won't be, but most of them are.
And I know we've talked about some 2D side scrolls that we're excited about, and we talked about it earlier too. Prince of Persia: Lost Crown looks like that will be very fun.
That actually looked really fun. That looked like a pretty awesome 2D side-scrolling action game.
From the art, the combat itself, I really like the time manipulation stuff.
Yeah,
that looks cool too.
Cool.
So I think that's going to be really fun to see. That comes out in January of next year. The last thing really in the two things. One, we got yet another look trailer at fucking Skull and Bones, but yet still no idea what the fuck this game is, or what it's going to be. But there is an open beta coming out on a closed beta, August 25th and 28th. I'll try it out, but at this point I have really lost interest for this game.
I guess it's nice that they're moving on to a closed beta finally, but still, I think most people would agree that they have concerns.
A little bit. We'll see how it is. I'm curious, so I'll try it out, but at this point I have kind of lost interest. Yeah. The one thing about the last thing from the Ubisoft one, before we wrap this up, is that I got so hyped, and they did the biggest switcheroo on me.
Did they get you?
They did, because they transitioned to a new game, and I heard the opening notes of this Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon standalone game that came out for it, and I was like, holy shit.
Which had
are they
that
remastering?
sick soundtrack.
It did. It was like the whole setting of that one was crazy, because it was like this 80s future sci-fi vibe, with dinosaurs, like robot dinosaurs and stuff. It was crazy. Super fun though. And so I was like, holy shit, are we getting a sequel to that, or possibly a remaster? No, neither. We're getting a fucking anime on Netflix. And I was like, what is this? I mean, I'll watch it, sure. I'll try it out. But it looks a little weird, because it's like mixing a whole lot of Ubisoft properties in one. Like, one of your companions is like a frog with the Assassin's Creed cloak on. I don't fucking know, but it looks a little crazy. I'll check it out, but I really thought we were getting a Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon again, and we're not. So that was a bummer.
Well,
but anyway.
Yeah, win some, you lose some.
Can't have them all, I guess.
Oh, boy.
But I really think that covers, I think.
I mean, that pretty much covers all of our main bases.
Yeah.
And that's saying a lot, because
we talked about a lot. And there's a lot we didn't talk about.
I mean, there's more that we weren't able to cover, or that we frankly just did not have interest in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's so much coming out that it's kind of, it boggles the mind.
It does. And I know we're not completely out of Summer Games Fest either. So there will be a few more things, I'm sure, for us to talk about.
Two tiny little things that I did want to touch on from the much less hyped.
Yes.
Just two from the Wholesome Direct. So this was sort of like the cozy gaming direct that they did Saturday morning, which had, I'll say it, too many games.
Oh.
There were 80 of them.
80?
Too many games. Now,
for one showcase?
Now, to be fair, they are all very small indie games,
But
but
still.
still, too many.
That's a lot.
You need to trim that fat, Wholesome Direct. But the two that I was personally the most excited about, Minako's Night Market, which has been supposedly coming out for what feels like a decade now. It hasn't actually been that long, but it's been a while.
Yeah.
Finally got a real release date. It is coming out September 26th of this year on Switch and PC.
Very cool.
Minako's Night Market may not be a day one purchase for me, but it's probably going to be within the month that it comes out, because it seems like it's completely up my alley. It looks like just a fun, cozy sort of life/city simulator, more like life simulator. It looks fantastic. Another one that I've been following on Twitter for a long ass time, Fields of Mystria. Ooh. Fields of Mystria is very much in line with the Stardew Valleys of the world, so more like a life and farming sim. Fields of Mystria, which has a soundtrack from Undertale's Toby Fox.
Fun.
So the soundtrack is going to slap. Is getting finally got a 2024 release date window. So who knows when it's actually going to come out, if it even does come out in 2024, barring any delays.
Right.
But I feel like that's one of my personal, really promising life sim games that I've really got my eye on. I always keep up with what the developers are doing over on Twitter, so very hyped to see that it's supposedly maybe coming out next year.
Hell yeah.
Fields of Mystria, Minako's Night Market, both look like very fun, cute indie games.
Very nice. So I know we've talked about a lot. I know there's a lot that we have thrown. But do you have the number one favorite from this? I mean, mine's easy.
Yours is easy.
Star Wars
I
Outlaws.
feel like mine really isn't as easy. Truly, I was the most intrigued by South of Midnight, and I want to say Eustace. Justin?
Oh,
What did-
Justin.
What did we decide it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
called?
Well, I was just
The
looking
name
at
has already escaped
Rhyme
me.
2.0.
Rhyme 2.0. What is it fucking called?
Jusant.
Jusant. There
Okay.
we go. Excuse me.
yes,
Jusant
yes.
and South of Midnight were the two that particularly grabbed me as being, those seem like they are the most up my alley.
Yeah.
Oh, and Vampire 2, but it's not.
That one does look good too. So a lot of great stuff coming out. Obviously, you know, we are in the midst of it still. I think there are still a few more, like I know a Capcom Direct, I think might have been actually, maybe it's going on now, but in a few other things.
Ooh,
so if we
there's
see
going to be
anything else.
I will be keeping my eyes peeled on the Annapurna Direct,
Oh,
which is going to
that'll be a
happen a
good
little
one.
bit later because most people forgot about this, but that's where they originally announced Neon White.
I saw that in their in their little montage.
The Annapurna Interactive predated when other people were talking about Neon White, and I was the only one going, "Hey, did everybody see this?
That
cool
looks
game?"
cool.
And then everybody was like, "Pfft, "What?" And then somebody else did, and I was like, "You fools! If only you had watched the Annapurna Direct." So very excited about that one.
So yeah, so we'll be sharing other updates of other cool announcements that we see as we go. We just had to get like, if we did it all in one episode, my God, we'd
Oh my
be here
God.
for
Yeah,
hours.
Jesus, we're already tired.
Let us know though if any of these games are, or one that we didn't mention, were really jumped out to you as like, oh, this is my favorite. This is one I'm really excited to play. We would love to hear from you, and you can do that by emailing us at teamchatpodcast@gmail.com, jumping on our Discord, talking about it with us there. We'd love to see you there, and you can also talk about it with us in the comments on YouTube, wherever you're listening to or watching the show. So let us know. We'd love to hear from you and hear about what great games you're looking forward to. But I think with that wraps up this episode of Team Chat Podcast, our recap of Summer Games Fest Part 1, I guess. But anyway, we'll come back, give you more updates as we have them. But until next time, everybody, I'm one of your hosts, Jarrett Wilson, joined to my right by Rachel Mogan.
Peace out.
We'll see you all next time.